Hey, I'm Courtney Waterman, your tutor. Lover of anime, manga, and math. And you just tuned into another session of Tutor Me Sempai. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're jumping into a 7th grade topic, finding adjacent angles. Now, if you're new to my channel, I'll be putting time codes in for this video in the description box below, so use that to skip ahead to whatever part of the video you think is most interesting. As always, if you have any questions about what we see here today, or even your own homework, you can always put in the comment box below, or visit me on my Facebook page at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. This video should be a rather short one, so leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and let's get started. Before we can find adjacent angles, we first have to figure out what makes two angles adjacent in the first place. So, what are the criteria that makes two angles adjacent? There are 3 things that two angles have to hit in order to be considered adjacent. The first thing is they have to share the same vertex. Now, what is a vertex? A vertex is just going to be where 2 or more sides meet, where they intersect. So let's say you have that and that and that right there. And this is not necessarily the greatest, but I'm going to put a big point here just to fill in those gaps. And that would be your vertex. You have 2 or more sides that meet at this point. So this right here is what we call the vertex. If 2 angles are going to be considered adjacent, they have to have the same vertex. The second criteria that they have to meet is that they have to share a side. They must have a side in common. And the last and final criteria that they have to hit is they cannot overlap. There cannot be any overlap between the 2 angles. Only when 2 angles hit all 3 of these criteria can they be considered adjacent angles. If you hit 1, if you hit 2, you're not going to be considered adjacent. You have to hit all 3. So not 1, not 2, but all 3 makes 2 angles adjacent. So let's look at a few examples to really drive this point home. Let's first start off with a basic example so we can see all 3 of our criteria at work. Here we have angle A and angle B, and these are actually considered to be adjacent angles. Notice, the very first thing we have to check for is they share a vertex. This vertex here is shared by both angle A and angle B. So the first one is down. How about the second one? Remember, the second one was they have to share a common side. Do they have a common side? Yes, they do have a common side. So not only do they share a vertex, you also see that they share this line here. This line is a common side between the 2 of them. So the second one, perfect. How about the third one? That third one was they can't overlap. They have to be completely distinct angles. They cannot have any overlap. Are these 2 angles in any way overlapping each other? No. We have this angle over here, and we have this angle over here. They do not touch. Therefore, they don't overlap. So we have 2 angles that hit the first, second, and third criteria, thus making these 2 adjacent angles. How about this example? Are angle A and angle B considered to be adjacent here? Well, let's look. Do they share a common vertex? Yes, they do share a common vertex. Do they share a common side? Yes, they do share a common side. Do they have any overlap? No. This angle is completely separate from this angle here. So it seems like once again, we have 2 angles that hit all 3 criteria, thus making them adjacent. These 2 angles are definitely adjacent angles. And here's an extra bit of information for you. Notice in our last 2 examples, we found out that supplementary and complementary angles are considered to be adjacent angles. Now, not all adjacent angles are going to be either complementary or supplementary, but all supplementary and all complementary angles are considered to be adjacent angles. Just thought I'd throw that out there for you. Let's look at some more examples. Let's look at a slightly more complicated example. Are angle A and angle C going to be considered adjacent angles for this example? First, do they share a common vertex? Yes, They do share a common vertex. This vertex is common for both A and C. However, do they share a common line? No. There is no line that connects A and C. So therefore, this is already breaking one of our three criteria. Angle A and angle C are not going to be considered adjacent angles. You don't even have to check all three. If you break at least one, you're not going to be considered an adjacent angle. But let's say instead of angle A here, we had angle B. Would angle B be considered adjacent to angle C? Yes. They have a common vertex, they share a common line, and there is no overlap. So, yes, angle B and angle C are considered to be adjacent. So let's check out this slightly more complicated example in which we have a lot of angles. We have angle A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. And we want to see, are these pairs here considered to be adjacent? So let's check them out one at a time. We have angle A and angle D. So where's angle A? We have angle A over here and angle D. Angle D is right there. Are they considered to be adjacent? Remember, they have to hit the first three criteria in order for this to be true. Do they have the same vertex? Yes, they do. Do they share a same line? No. Angle A is going to be over here. Those are the two lines making up angle A. However, angle D make up these two. So we don't have a line as common for both of them. Therefore, no, these are not going to be considered adjacent. How about angle B and angle H? We have angle B here, and we have this angle H here. Now, once again, do they share a common vertex? Yes. This vertex is going to be common for B, because that's the angle here, right? But it's also going to be common for this H here. Now, H is a big angle here. This is really big angle, but the vertex that makes up angle H is going to be this right here. So they do share a common vertex. Now, do they have a common side? Yes, they do have a common side, right? This side right here is going to be common to both B and H, right? That's the line for B. And this is going to be the two lines for H. So they do have one line in common. So we have 2 out of 3. How about the third one? Do they have any overlap? Yes, they have overlap. B is actually going to be a small portion of that total angle H. So therefore, we now have 2 angles that are not adjacent. That last one really disqualified it. You have to have all 3. You can't have 2. You can't have 1. How about angle C and angle H? Angle C is going to be over here. Do they share a common vertex? Yes, they do. They do, right? That same vertex is going to be common for C and H. Do they share a common side? Yes. This same side here is going to be the common side for C and H. Is there any overlap? No. H is all the way over here. On the other side of this line that they have in common, you find C. There is no overlap, so C and H are going to be considered adjacent. How about G and E? We have G over here, and we have E over here. Do they have a common vertex? Yes. This vertex is going to be common for the total G here. So this G, once again, is a big angle. Maybe not as big as H, but it is a big angle. And the 2 lines that make up G are going to be this and this. And you notice they intersect right there at that same vertex. E is going to be made up of this line here. I'll just do blue over here. And this line here. Once again, that same vertex. So they have the same vertex. And they're going to have a line in common. This line here is going to be in common for both E and G. Is there any overlap now? No, there is no overlap. They share this side in common here, and on both sides, they're going to be mutually exclusive. So this is going to be adjacent. These 2 angles are considered to be adjacent angles. How about this example here? Are angle A and B considered to be adjacent angles? Well, the answer to that is going to be a whopping resounding no. If you check out that very first criteria, you'll see they do not share the same vertex. Each angle has its own vertex. It doesn't matter that they do share a similar line and the angles are not overlapping. It does not matter because they don't share the same vertex. This is going to be no. They are not considered to be adjacent angles. Let's check out one more example. We're going to see, are these pairs considered to be adjacent angles? So angle A and angle D, are they going to be considered to be adjacent angles? We have some vertexes here, vertex here, and the very first thing we're checking, no, they don't share the same vertex. This one has a vertex, that one has a vertex. They're not the same thing. So you don't even have to check the other criteria. They're not the same vertex. Therefore, they're not going to be adjacent angles. How about angle A and angle C? Same thing, right? They don't share the same vertex, so no. How about angle A and angle B? Well, they do share the same vertex now. Okay, how about do they share a common side? Yes, they do share a common side, right? This is going to be common between A and B. All right, is there any overlap? No, they're completely independent of each other. There is no overlap, so that is going to be yes. These two angles are adjacent angles. So we just went through a bunch of examples, and I hope that helps you identify your adjacent angles whenever you have to do so. Remember, if you have any question about what we saw today or even your own homework, you can always put in the comment box below or visit me on my Facebook page at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. If you haven't done so already, remember to leave a like. It really helps the channel by letting YouTube know that you found this video helpful. And if you found the video helpful, so can someone else. So leave a like, smash the subscribe, hit the notification bell, and while you're at it, share this video with a friend. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I'm really hoping this helped with your homework, and I'm looking forward to see you again next week. I'm Courtney, and this is another session of Tutor Me Sempai.